Hey y'all. So, being that I can't seem to find my ring light, here we are. I really thought that it'd be fun time to talk about reels because it occurs to me that most people maybe don't know how actors are chosen. I mean, there's the audition process, but there's also, there's just generally people want proof that you can act. And that you can act for camera because acting in a room, acting on stage is different than acting for camera. Personally, I'm theater trained, and so I had to learn to work for camera, which maybe I should touch on that on another one. That it's really important to take a class for camera because acting for camera is different, playing to camera is different. Um, but my point right now is that generally what you want is something, a minute or two long that just shows yourself acting, and that's your reel. And so ideally, an actor has this, and you have yourself in hopefully numerous characters showing your acting ability. And if you have done a lot of work, then maybe you have different reels. You have your comedic reel, you have a commercial reel, you have a dramatic reel. Um, if you don't have that many things, then maybe you just have one reel that has a little bit of everything. Although now, thanks to the casting process as it is and the internet as it is, we're in a position where clips are being accepted more and more. So if somebody wants me to play a detective and I have clips of myself playing a detective, I don't necessarily need an entire reel of similar material. I can just send them me looking and acting like a detective, and they go, "Oh, okay, yeah." And it's funny because even for a lot of free projects, they'll say must send demo reel to be considered, and that's amazing because free projects are halfway how you get real. Um, so how do you get real? How do you get this experience and this thing that you really need to be an actor? Honestly, um, there's multiple ways, not the least of which is student projects. Now, on the one hand, working with students can be fantastic because it's a learning experience. It kind of shows you the different ways people work. On the other hand, it can be terrible because students, depending on the school, can just not ever give you the work. And technically, that's true of shorts too. A short is really anything shy of a full length movie, but a lot of times, we have things that are like 7 to 15 minutes that people do, and people will create um, shorts or be working on some kind of student film, and they say, trade for work, act in this, and I'll be sure to give you footage and credit on IMDb, and you just kind of never get the footage, and maybe you get the IMDb credit, uh, sometimes, and sometimes it's the other way. Um, I don't know. I have a couple things that I go back and look and say, hey, those guys definitely never credited me. Did they come out with the thing? Did it not make it out of post production? You don't know. A lot of projects just die. Um, and that's realistically what it is. People either realize they're not happy with it, or sometimes people, and I think this can carry across to things that are totally aside from filmmaking. People will be such perfectionists, and they're so afraid of people actually seeing what they made, of how people will critique their art, that they don't do it at all. That they make it, and by the time that they slice it together, they go, oh, maybe it's not good, and they just don't put it out. And to me, that's one of the worst things you can do. Because, yeah, I only want to make things I'm proud of, but if you have nothing. Now, there's extremes. I know people who definitely put out a lot of garbage just in the name of making credits, but some of them make real impressive looking resumes that way. You have to be able to spot it in the opposite direction. So maybe I've gone off a little bit, but the initial ways that a person without much experience begins getting a demo reel is by doing shorts, and student films. Now that's typical, but sometimes people do go ahead and get cast fairly quickly for real projects, and so their demo reel may completely consist of NCIS and et cetera, et cetera, real show, and that's great, but that's not most people. And so other options might include things like the kind of acting class you're going to. Hopefully, they can provide some kind of resource. And even if they don't have a resource, sometimes they'll film in class. And so for me, I've gained clips from class, and I have been able to submit those periodically. Um, right now, I'm looking into certain companies that create a reel for you. And so one of the things that they'll do is write you material based on the kind of character you're going to be playing, and shoot it for you, and they edit it too. So that kind of situation, if you are like me and just have had a terrible time getting footage, or if you're just not getting cast to begin with, might be the only way that you can get yourself cast. Because realistically, people want to see you act. They don't want to spend money on somebody that they don't know can deliver. So this is of concern if it's one of those million things that make acting so difficult, especially if you're not coming from the business or you're not made of money. Because you get to LA and what do you have to do? You got to pay for headshots. They've got to look good, they've got to look professional. You need reel. Your reel shouldn't just be me filming myself this way. It needs to look like it was professional footage, like I was on a show, even if I wasn't. So that's why there's people hiring bit actors to be in their reel, or friends who are bigger actors, whatever the case may be. Um, and some of those companies will make those little scenes look more like a real production. So yeah, this is just one of those things. Demo reel, very important as an actor, and I don't know, it's pretty difficult to work without it in any real capacity. Have a good night, guys.